Welcome to week 6, launch and critical path. Most fashion launches don't fail because the product is bad. They fail because the timeline is bad. If your launch feels chaotic instead of controlled, this is why. You don't need more hype, you need more critical path and organization. Scaling brands don't wing launches, they engineer them. If you've ever launched and thought that should have been done better, watch this video. It will help you. So, week 6, launch and critical path, is taken from my 6 weeks concept to production ready course. And this is the final stage of preparing yourself to be confident for production and launch. This is where everything comes together: your sourcing, your production, your pricing, your positioning, and now it's time to launch. Most brands do struggle with this area because their critical path isn't clear and their guidelines and time frame isn't clear. Their cutoff points. I see this with emerging brands launching for the first time, and I also see it with scaling brands doing 6 figures, but they're flatlining and wondering why they're not growing as they'd anticipated. Today, we're talking about building a real critical path, pre-launch strategy, launch execution, and what separates a strong launch from a successful one. So let's get into it. Why launches fail. Here's what usually happens. A brand works for months on end developing product. They're exhausted, they're excited, they're emotionally stimulated by all their designs. So they pick a date. They post on Instagram, they send a couple of emails, and they hope. And then sales are okay. They're not terrible, but not what they expected. And founders usually say things like, we need better marketing. But the real issue is there's no structure in the launch timeline. No coordination build up, no engineering anticipation. Launches should not feel like a surprise. They should feel inevitable. So the next step is naturally to buy the product. So let's define this clearly. A critical path is a detailed timeline that outlines everything that is required through to launch. Usually it encompasses the design, the research, the marketing, and brand building stage. Strong brands map out research and design, brand development and marketing, sampling and sign off, pre-production approvals, cut-off dates, production completion, product photography, content creation, website readiness, inventory arrival, email campaigns, influencer outreach, PR timeframes or timelines, customer service preparation, and most importantly, they assign deadlines and responsibilities. Emerging brands often think, I'll just do everything. And scaling brands often think, my team knows what they're doing, it's not a problem. But both points are very dangerous. And if no one knows the timeline actually owns you. A proper critical path answers what must happen first, what can run simultaneously, how long I can run something, or what cannot and what cannot be delayed. When one milestone slips, everything shifts. And without this clarity, launches become reactive and you usually miss the date. This is where most brands dramatically underperform because they think the marketing starts on launch date when it doesn't. Launch day is the climax to the whole process. The real work starts weeks and sometimes months before. Pre-launch is about to happen. Building anticipation, building data, building a community, building demand. Emerging brands struggle because they're afraid to show unfinished work. They don't want to post too much. They don't want to feel repetitive. Everything needs to be perfect. Scaling brands struggle because they rely too heavily on paid ads. They skip storytelling. They underestimate attention to detail. Pre-launch should include storytelling, email list building, early access incentives, potential influencer networking and connections, PR outreach. Pre-launch isn't just random content. It's actually reaching out to your potential customers and showing them what your collection is all about and what your brand and story is all about. Now let's talk about launch day. Launch day should not be we're alive. It should actually be coordinated email drops, scheduled content, influencers and their posts are aligned with yours, and your ads are activated. Sales tracking is ready, and customer support is briefed. Effectively, your brand tone of voice is implemented. You need a defined launch date, revenue targets, traffic targets, conversation expectations, inventory clarity. Scaling brands especially miss this. They look at revenue afterwards. Strong brands define success metrics before launch. They project sales, they forecast. And here's something most people don't really talk about. Your launch energy sets the tone for your brand perception. Calm, controlled builds authority. Chaotic launches damages trust. Emotional side of launching, let's talk about something that's really real, which is launch anxiety. You've worked for months, you've become emotionally attached to your collection. A large amount of money is invested. Reputation is on the line. You refresh your e-commerce site every 5 minutes, and that pressure is actually normal. But structured brands reduce anxiety through preparation. When you know your numbers, your timeline, your cutoff dates for the whole process pre-launch, when you're controlled in that area, your launch doesn't feel so scary. Your marketing is sequenced in with your launch, your contingency plan. Launch date feels controlled if you've got a critical path. You don't become desperate. So here's the understanding that I want you to be clear of. A strong launch is not luck, it's architecture. When your critical path is solid, your marketing feels intentional and your audience is primed. Your revenue becomes predictable and your scaling becomes repeatable. If you're watching this and you're thinking, my launch feels inconsistent, I don't know if I'm sequencing things correctly, we've launched before, but momentum fades fast, that's exactly what I help my customers with. That's exactly what I help brands solve. I offer free consultations where we will review your current launch structure, your critical path, your marketing timeline, your sales strategy. And I'll tell you directly what's aligned and what's missing, what needs tightening before your next drop. Because once your launch system is strong, growth stops feeling random and panic stops. Thank you very much for listening. Until the next video, bye bye for now.